here for so long, and everything's kind of coming back.
Did you ever try to get 33 from Mark, or was that?
No, he's done way better than that number than I've ever done. So I'd be doing us a disservice if I did that.
When you look at this roster, Mike, you can easily look and see that it's 11 or 12 deep or whatever. You don't really see teams that play 11 or 12 guys, but as a veteran guy, do you get excited when you realize there's so much talent in one place?
Oh yeah, of course. And the last time you probably saw 10 guys play was here in Memphis with Hubie. So I'm kind of familiar with that. But to have that's very unique, and I think you can sit here in front of cameras and talk for 30 minutes about each player, because that's the unique thing we have here is the talent level and the depth we have.
You're coming from a team that's used to dealing with expectations down in Miami, a lot of expectations now for this team.
Yep.
Does that get addressed amongst the guys in training camp at all?
Well, I think that's one thing I can help with. One thing going into Miami was the expectations and how to manage those expectations, and we have some expectations here, which is a good thing. I think whether it's public or in the locker room felt the same way the public's saying right now. We're not here. We wouldn't be putting in the time or excited about training camp if we didn't think we had a chance to have a great year. So as a team, those are the expectations we have. Whether it's out in the public or not, we're still going to be disappointed if we don't do well, whether we get killed in the public for it or not. So we're excited about the expectations this year.
You Mike, when you were deciding where you were going to go, you used the word championship contender as a place. You were here when Memphis wasn't looked at. How crazy is it to realize that this is an elite team now in the NBA?
Well, that's a credit to the organization. I know it's switched over a little bit, but it's a credit to the organization. It's a credit to the city. They've continued to improve to where, and I said this when I first got here, was a city where people weren't sure about coming here to now making decisions to come here, and that's a lot of credit to the organization in the city, because it's easy to, well, it's hard to put yourself in a position to have a chance to win championships. If you look at over the past 15 years, whatever, the minimum amount of teams that actually won it. And to even have the word spoke about your team having a chance to win, it's a lot of credit to the organization.
You mentioned everybody in the West. No offense to the East, because you were a champ with the Heat, but the West has always been the top-heavy kind of team. People have made splash signings, but the guys in this room have all said we didn't need the splash. The guys that we went out and got are going to fit a role. Do you agree with that you didn't have to keep up with the Joneses because you had enough in the room?
Well, what's great about that is it's the culture of this team. That's what made this team successful, is what they call the grit and the grind of it. You've got really talented players at a lot of different positions, but they're not the so-called big names that are out there. Well, the San Antonio Spurs have done a pretty good job being successful with that same kind of model, right? So for us, adding some pieces that they felt like they needed to help win is all they needed to do, and we feel comfortable going to training camp with that.
And speaking of training camp, as you go into training camp, how do you manage yourself as far as what you're going to do to keep yourself healthy for this long grind of these?
That's what I've had to learn throughout the last 4 or 5 years. As you get more and more years in the league, is being smarter, and I'll do whatever they tell me to do. Right now, my health feels really, really good. Also don't want to get carried away and go at it, because at the end of the day, it's all about the last 2-3 months of the season. We want to be successful, we want to do the things we need to do, but we also want to be there when the time counts.
Mike, it's one thing to have a team that has guys that can make threes. It's another thing to have a guy who has a reputation as being a knockdown three-point shot. What do you think just your reputation as being the three-point guy means for this team?
Well, it means a lot, because it's one thing I learned in Miami was you don't even have to make threes when your reputation is what it is. You don't even have to make threes to make a difference on the court. You got to make people respect you. And for guys like Zebo and Mark and Mike Conley, it's all about having space. And if people have to respect the fact that, you know, I can run off 2 or 3 threes in a row and they don't want that to happen, you know, it opens the floor for these guys. And I think it's contagious. I really do. I think you'll see the Memphis Grizzlies make a lot more shots this year and have a lot more confidence shooting those shots.
You talked a little bit about playing some power forward yourself, and that spreading the floor out even more from that position.
Yeah, I think it could be a huge asset. If I can rebound and I can defend out of that position, I think it can really help us. It makes us quicker. It opens up the tempo for Mike Conley. Pick and roll situations with me and Mike will be interesting. You know, and if we can spread the floor and I can do the little things like the rebound and the defending at that position, I think it can be an asset for this team.
Pretty much since you left, the team's been looking for a reliable three-point shooter and a backup point guard. What do you know about Nick, and just what do you know about him, first of all?
Well, he's a Gator, so it makes him very successful.
Sure.
I'm sure.
First and foremost.
First and foremost, we'll just put that out there right now. But I think people are going to be very impressed with him. He's a very intelligent basketball player. Reminds me a lot of Jay Will type in his ball skills. His passing ability is what kind of reminds me of him. He's on time, on target, which is a lot of fun to play with. You know, he was EuroLeague Player of the Year last year, or MVP, so he obviously can play basketball. So what I've seen of him so far up on the practice court is all good things, and I think you're going to be very impressed with him, especially just playing the backup role behind Mike Conley.